Hi everyone. In the last video, which was a personalized blogging with AI agents, we had looked at a use case of personalized blogging for AI agents. The use case was that I have a blog. This is a blog on WordPress, and I blog about miscellaneous things, but most of it is travel related. Uh, and we wanted to kind of go through the trips that I did over last 10 15 years and recommend me a trip, a new trip that I haven't already done, and then blog about it based on the style that I have. Okay, so that was the use case, so which is what I had started off with working, and today we are going to sort of ponder over the results of the implementation that I did. So the code that I developed, I have pushed to my GitHub repo of AI agents on my GitHub, Samir Mahajan, and uh, I'll briefly walk through the code. So basically, the code has multiple use cases, and it is completely done in Crew AI. uh, and the agents.py has various agents that are required for this activity, and it has task.py which has various tasks required for these particular use cases. Okay, and one more thing is that I'm using additional code from Brandon Hancock, and we'll look at that just in a bit. So here is a summary of results and the challenges that I faced, right? So I quickly ran into the token limit, right? Because I'm using GPT-4. GPT-4 has a token limit of, I believe, 8K, so 8192 tokens, right? Which is roughly 15, 16, or rather 4,000, roughly 3 to 4,000 words, okay? And what I noticed was when I tried to sort of parse my entire blog, uh, it hit like quarter million tokens. So I was surprised. I mean, like just this blog of some 15 20 posts quickly runs into like quarter million tokens. Okay. Uh, then I wanted to generate finally HTML, right? Because I wanted to have a blog with not only the content but also sort of nested images. Uh, so I wanted to generate HTML, but it was not very consistent, and the uh, generated image URL were approximate. Right? What it means is that if I actually open that in a browser, it will open something, right? But if I put that in a HTML with a image tag, it is not correct. So I mean, it won't open. So I mean, that was not very useful. Okay. Uh, so because of all this, basically I had to do page by page processing, right? And for each of my trips, right? And then manually compile the results. Okay. Uh, and uh, another observation was that when I asked it to kind of uh, pick a image, obviously this is like a GPT-4. Maybe I should have tried GPT-4o if it could have looked at the image itself, right? But with GPT-4, the problem was that it could not see the image, and it basically uh, picked the image, highlight image, based on the words around it. Okay. Uh, so uh, that was another challenge. And it actually said in some cases that, hey, like I need to look at the image to come up with a highlight image. There are too many images on this blog post, and sometimes I saw that. Okay. Another thing was one of the blog I had in a regional language, Marathi, instead of English. So actually, it did give some results at times, mostly when I gave the whole HTML page, right? But with just the text, it actually said that, oh, like, I have a language barrier. It seems to be in different language, so I cannot construct like a summary of this trip. Okay. Uh, so again, I experimented with just the text content as well as the embedded HTML because as I said, I wanted to kind of, this uh, thing pick up like a image or a uploaded photo from my post, right? Uh, so the content that I got was different with embedded HTML versus just the text, right? Like visited places were more with embedded HTML, and it's probably obvious because I had kind of some photos there. So with the name of the photo, it kind of picked up visited places, for example, right? Uh, So another observation, like WordPress is a little transparent about the content that it posts, right? But the Medium is little kind of not very transparent, especially with the image URLs that we put. So they are encoded, and the scraping could not kind of do it very easily. Uh, Another last but not the least, right? Even if I generated HTML at the end, right, it was kind of partially manually compiled. It is not very straightforward to post this HTML to any blogging site. Like, I tried WordPress, Medium, right? It was kind of a little difficult. So I came across one uh, open source that somebody has put so that you can actually post HTML to Medium, right? But I mean, it's kind of rudimentary. For example, it could not render the table that I had created, so on and so forth. Okay. Uh, So, I mean, some minor enhancements that I can think of, like, the scraper that I wrote, I mean, instead of taking a single web page, it can take an array of web pages, right? So that way I can sort of, come up with some more use cases, like, rank the trips, for example, right? That we could do. So let me walk through the code a little bit. Uh, so, since, for example, uh, the agents that I had was summarize trip, right? So essentially, what I ended up doing was, since I couldn't handle this 250,000 tokens, I summarize my trips, right? And let me show you that, right? So this is my personalized blogging use case, right? Uh, but if you see the next post, right? Uh, this is now kind of half manually compiled, right? Where uh, it basically gives the date the trip was taken, the destination, the places that it visited, and a brief summary of that, and a highlight image. What was the highlight of that trip, right? So this was a trip to Lonavala this year in April, couple of months ago. This was a trip to Goa during the second half of last year, right? This is a image, highlight image. There's a trip to Sikkim and Darjeeling, right? So it's kind of showing that sunlight, which is very sunrise that is very popular over the Kanchenjunga. The trip to Dublin, showing the Dublin Castle, right? So basically, what I did is I summarize my trips, right? And this summary is something that I gave to my another agent, which was a recommender. So uh, this was a summary agent, or like this was a summary crew, I would say, right? So the summary workflow crew in the terms of crew AI, right? The summary, whatever was generated, was given to this trip recommender, right? Which is a recommend next trip, right? And then I asked it to recommend me a trip, right? So it was done through the recommend agent, right? Uh, and then I use Brandon Hancock's code. Let me just go over there. So that is a repo that I have. Also, four to do some contributions. But you can see strip planner, right? So this is a multi-agent code, which basically has like your trip to a particular destination broken down into days, and then for each day it comes up with the itinerary, right? And then it basically has a another agent which does a local guide and uh, tells you what all destinations to see, right? And then ultimately it comes up with sort of a itinerary for whatever number of days you want to do the trip, right? So for example, in my case, it kind of, it went through my trip summary, right? I have been to Turkey, right? Some places in India, right? Bangkok, Pattaya, right? So it recommended me to go to Greece. Okay. Now, using this trip planner, uh, I generated uh, an itinerary, right? So this is a itinerary, right? So for 7 days. In addition to the itinerary, I also picked up a little bit of details for these locations, right? So that I can give it to my agent to blog about it, right? So this is a create travel blog agent, okay? Uh, and then it created a blog, right? Uh, and then it posted it as if I have done the trip, right? So this is a blog that it created, right? So it said Athens to Santorini, a week in Greece. Okay, so for each day, it kind of said what I did, right? Uh, Day trip to Delphi, right? Exploring Santorini, right? So on and so forth. Uh, so again, just a brief on the code that I developed, right? So again, the agent is kind of, just little bit of telling what the role is, what the goal is, what's the backstory, right? uh, so these are different agents, right? A lot of the stuff is in the tasks, right? So I'll just walk through the tasks, right? So first is a summary, summarize trip, right? So it says, okay, like, expected output is this. So I wanted a travel date, destination, places visited, uh, and two to three lines summary of the trip, right? So this was when I had sort of scraped the text, right? Now, when I scraped the text with the embedded URL, right? It basically also had additional column of embedded image with hyperlink, okay, depicting the uh, trip that I took, okay. So let me show you that output. Okay, anyway, this is HTML. So uh, what I will do is, maybe I will open this HTML also in a browser, right? So this is a trip summary. So this is in AI agents, right? So this is basically a table. Okay, now since this table couldn't be rendered on Medium with that open source, it basically something I again manually edited to do it something like this, right? But then this is what it was expected to generate. Okay, so now going back to the tasks, right? So this is when I scraped the content with embedded HTML, right? I was expecting this, right? That didn't happen very well though, as I said, right? Uh, so uh, this is for an individual page, right? So I also tried with all the content, right? Again, which didn't work because of the limit on the number of tokens, right? So this is something I couldn't actually use, right? These tasks, right? Recommended trip task, right? So it basically looked at the kind of, the summary, and then it said how long you want to do the trip and when you want to do it. So I said, okay, like, maybe I want to take a trip next summer in 2025. That's when it suggested me Greece. So it was interesting because it also gave the reasoning that you haven't been there and what sort of trips you have been doing, so on and so forth, right? And this is the final task, which actually creates the blog, right? So basically, for it, what I did is I used some tools, right? Uh, and the tools are, let me show you that, right? So uh, basically, what I asked it to do is I did a search tool, right? So the search tool is the DuckDuckGo that I use, which doesn't need any API key, right? Then I said, like, this is an itinerary, right? Whatever was generated by the trip planner, right? So for this particular itinerary, generate a blog, right? And then I also gave this scrape web page, right? Get content, right? So that it can pick up a style for my blogging, right? So I'll also show you that a little bit. It's interesting. So when it blocked, right? So it picked up my style. So in my style, I had said that, like, uh, every journey begins at home, right? So it said that, and this one was no different, right? It's something that it added to make it different from what I had. Uh, okay, so the last thing, a little bit about on the tools, right? Which were important, right? So for reading the web page, I basically use a beautiful soup, right? And I parse the HTML, right? And I just got the content out of it, right? Uh, so for the web page content with URL, again, I mean, I got some help on Stack Overflow, right? So somebody had posted this uh, get text plus, right? So what it does is, in addition to the text content, it basically also scrapes the HTML code, right? Because I wanted to sort of get the embedded HTMLs, right? So as you can see here, right, I want to see this, uh, like, image source this, href this, so that uh, when I go to this table, the idea was that it's interactive, where not only I can see this, but I can click on this and get the full image. So again, I mean, this also experience didn't work on this posting of HTML on these blogging sites, right? Because again, they are not interactive. I'm sure they are trying to make it secure, right? So that people don't sort of, do stuff which has undesirable effect. So I'm sure that must be the reason, right? Uh, so again, going back to the summary of results, right? Again, I have put all this code that I developed, that I was showing you in my uh, VS Code, Visual Studio Code, on the my GitHub. If you want to take a look, right? I'll post the link to the GitHub below. Uh, in addition to the code that I have developed, I have also put some code from some deep learning courses on multi AI agent with Crew AI as well as LangGraph, which is what I found useful working on this, as well as, like, some use cases and some code that I developed, and I've done some videos on these as well. Okay. So thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and looking forward to doing more videos for you folks. Okay, bye. Have a good time.